We're gonna take a picture. Call this work session to order. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, it's not on the agenda, but the first item is the Shelter Island Ambulance Foundation is here. First, we have to accept it.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're doing. We're accepting it. We'll do that after.
Okay, got it.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask Jim Preston and Mark Carnivogel and Jack Tilburg to come up, please, to make this formal presentation. DJ, I'd like you and Jim to accept the check as our outgoing councilman. Meg, if you and Meg, Amber will stand with me back here for the picture. You guys go up. Okay, the check to the front up here. We'll do a nice picture. Jim, if you want to just give a quick.
I thought this was for the ambulance. This is not my going away gift?
No.
No, not so fast.
Not so fast.
It's gonna be bigger.
I asked Amber real quick, is this a check for $75,000? Will it go to offset the budget? I said, no, this goes to the ambulance reserve. It goes to the ambulance reserve fund. Make sure did you get everybody?
No, you're not there, dear. Back there. BJ, here. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So Jim, we want to thank you very much. This is much grateful gift on your part.
Thanks, Rob. You have a grateful community. You have an appreciation for people doing the work. Thanks for supporting the medic program. And it's expensive and it's good for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for all you do. Mark, thank you very much. Thank you.
And Jack, thanks.
And Jack, always, thank you.
The three of you, we couldn't live without you. Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Literally, we couldn't live without you.
All right.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the senior taxes. Oh, wait, Brian, why don't we do you real quick while you're here? Brian asked to come in real quick to discuss something about the building next door.
So the fire department contacted me and they want to do a little training on the building before we tear it down. I mean, I have no problem with that. Just want to make the board aware of it. I asked the town lawyer about what we need and they just said a certificate of insurance, naming the town as additionally insured when they do train because it's on town property. So if it's okay before we tear it down, which the other thing is, I've got an email from PSE&G yesterday. They are so backed up, they cannot get the power off the pole until December 6th. Okay, so I called them today and had a conversation with them about them expediting that a little sooner, and they said no, because they're so busy. So we have at least a month to do that, and they can train in the building. They just want to, cut holes in the roof.
You're gonna do
practice with
not real fire.
smoke machines,
Oh,
no
smoke.
fire, nothing like
So they can
that.
do that with the power on.
Well, the power's cut off.
Right.
It's just not removed from the pole.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If that's okay, I can tell them to go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and do they need a schedule or they just do it when they?
They can just do it whenever
Okay, great.
they plan on doing it.
Okay.
All right?
Terrific.
And the other thing is, speaking of the ambulance building, Joe and I are in the process of putting out an RFP for the ambulance building extension,
Okay.
which was in this year's budget.
Yeah.
We just didn't get the plans until next month. So
Okay.
All right.
Brian, can I ask, do you have an ETA on the ramp for the community
we're
center?
gonna start that like ASAP now that election's over.
Oh, great.
The material is back there,
Oh,
it's
good.
sitting in the back, waiting to go. So we were just waiting for.
Those are the two, it's gonna go in the report, those are the two priorities, getting them.
This building-
But now that this is a little bit of delay,
Yeah.
that'll be the priority in terms of replacing the front door, getting the ramp up.
Yeah.
Yeah, finishing the building.
Finishing
Yeah,
it. Great.
yeah.
Terrific. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Brian.
Okay, so now we'll go to the first item on the list. Judith is here to talk to us about the senior tax exemption.
So, I was here, I forget how long ago now, about the exemption, and we, had a little, slideshow. And Christina, whenever you're ready, if you could pull it up to the second slide. Perfect. Okay, so this is what our current options are. Where you have to take the federally adjusted gross income, tax exempt interest, we take out the IRA, and then we add back in all of the social security that everyone gets, right? And that gives you your amount, right? Now,
What does FAGI stand for?
federally adjusted gross income. So then the new options, there's two options that you can opt in or out of. So you can opt out of using the full social security. So I don't add line 6A back in, right? That $20,000 doesn't get added back in. Or you can include the IRA distributions, which is at $10,000 for the IRA on line 4B, right?
But you can't do both?
Can.
Oh,
So if you go to the next slide, yes, Christina, thank you. So line already, this is to include the IRA distribution, right? And so line 11 already includes your $10,000 for your IRA. So if you include that and then you add in the social security, you're given a higher amount. Okay? On to the next slide, it gives you, if we take out the social, or opt out of using all of the social security, right? So you have your federal adjusted gross income, your interest, and the IRA deduction, right? So that's the difference. You go from the 26 now to 36, now down to $6,000, right? So that's a huge number, huge difference. So now on the next slide, for option 3, would be to opt in to include the distributions and opt out of using all social security, right? So then you just take your federally adjusted gross income and your tax exempt interest, and that gives you your senior income. So there's 3 different ways we can go about this, technically.
So who actually does this? The homeowner has to do it or you do it?
No, we do it in office. I do it.
yeah. How many do you have now? I forget, senior exemption.
Yeah, senior exemptions, we have 92 current,
Wow.
92. And that, for that was for 23.
And that's a low number.
And 22, before we had the increase from 27,000 up to 50,000 now, it went from 54 people to now up to 92. So there's a huge jump there.
Can you go back to your first slide? Just know that.
What the current option is?
Yeah. No, this one.
Oh, new option one.
Did it up in
Oh, current
20?
options. Okay. Go back to current, one more back, to see current, thanks. All right, so federal adjusted interest, all right. That's how we do it now, we have 90.
The issue I have with this
Mm-hmm.
is that you can manipulate your IRA distributions. I mean, you have to take a
Yes.
required minimum distribution.
After
But once,
70,
but
yeah.
after you get above that amount, it's discretionary.
Right,
So we're excluding discretionary income here,
yeah,
but we're adding in the rest of the Social Security.
right,
So I kind of like option 3, where we include the IRA
yeah,
and then not take in the rest of the Social Security. Because if you're in a higher income bracket, you go to option 3 now, Christina. I just want to see where that falls again. So if you're in a higher bracket, 85, up to 85% of your Social Security is going to get included on line 6B.
right.
So,
Oh, okay,
so it's taking into account someone who might be in a higher bracket.
right, and not giving them the senior exemption, because, okay,
Because they're in a higher bracket, but we are including the IRA distribution, which is discretionary.
Right.
People can play with it.
yeah,
I feel like this option is best for people who truly need the relief.
right, right, yeah, I see what you mean, okay. Yeah, because it's a significant benefit,
Yeah.
this exemption, so we really want to make sure we're capturing the correct population.
Yes.
So how does it work? You can do any of these options, or we pick one and that's what we do?
So the current option is actually the mandated, what is currently in the mandate.
Have to do it that way.
That's how it has to be.
Right.
We have the option whether we want to include the IRA or exclude Social Security. We have options to do those. So it's up to us whether we want to include that or
Yeah,
not.
not to throw you a curveball here. Once we, so this is going to require a resolution by the town board to accept one of these options. Once we do that, if you come back to, can you come back to us or to them in a year and say, now, we're finding that, people with, whatever. Could the town board change its mind? I'm not sure you would know that
I
yet.
don't have an answer.
Yeah. I mean, not that we would, I just always like to have an out if I.
Yeah, well, in case it has a huge financial impact.
Yes.
This exemption can have a huge financial impact.
Right,
I mean, based on the current numbers, the exemption went from being roughly 18 million
Yeah.
in assessed values
right,
over the whole, roughly 4 billion, right?
Yeah.
The whole assessment roll, to, from 18 million to 45 million.
million, right.
So that's a huge.
And that's going to jump some amount, again, we really won't be able to know until we go through a cycle, okay.
Yes.
Can you give an idea of what the average person of these 93 exemptions is going to see as a relief?
Almost be half.
Yeah, if you're below $50,000, you are getting half of your current tax bill.
On the town,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if the intent is relief for senior citizens, and you're saying option 3, that's choice.
Fairest,
I think it is fairest.
okay. So,
Least debt to be manipulated.
Yeah.
so will a resolution on the 29th be timely enough?
I would support that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have to have, I'm gonna start doing the calculation soon, because I need to have all of this done before March 1st. So as long as I have this done before January,
yeah, I'd like to get it done and off your plate,
yeah, that would be.
thinking about it, yeah,
Because I don't want, I have to sit through 92 tax returns,
Right.
so I have to sit there and do the calculations, so that'll take some time.
yeah, okay. All right, great.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next on the agenda is the moratorium extension. We had a 6-month moratorium on big houses, which expires this month,
December.
December or
December.
January? I thought it was November.
December.
Or the end of November. Okay, so we have till, through November to, the subcommittee met, we're still going over it. I can give you a little bit of an update. If we do need to find out, we need to go to the planning board, Suffolk County Planning Board for an extension. So we need to know if we want to go 3 months or 6 months or what we want to do.
I think they like 3 months at a
Yeah.
time, I mean, I don't think they would,
Yeah.
I'll give you 6 months.
Well, originally we wanted a year. They didn't want
Yeah.
to do that, so. Hey, any, just a quick where we are?
Yeah, what we're trying to do right now is run some models on what the different ideas, how they would impact what we have. So if we were to add like a pyramid law, how would that impact a property owner based on our current zoning? Keeping side yard setbacks and everything the same. If you do the pyramid law, then it changes where your roof lines can be. So that will actually shrink a property if you're trying to do a moderate square building because you don't want to be casting shadows on your neighbor's lawns. But there's different ways to do that. So you can either do it from the points up, or you can do it 10 foot up and then up. So there's a different way. So we're trying to model what impact it would have. We're also looking at changing to a gross floor area instead of a habitable space area, which is what we've been using. So trying to figure out how that would impact and then what the appropriate size would be, because it would be a larger number, because right now we're not covering all the area that someone's building. Now you would be covering all the area someone's building. So if we look at, what we currently have approved, what was the actual gross area, and try to figure out, what an appropriate correlation would be
Right.
to if we convert to a gross area, which is what most of the other towns use when
Yeah.
it comes to the permitting part. So we're looking at that and then trying to figure out models for that and what the impacts would be.
And would the gross area include all buildings?
Right.
Okay, all buildings and perhaps greater, and what's the other, maximums is, I'm just trying to recall what's in the comp plan. So, you know, you have an acre, that limit might be different than if you have 2 or 3.
Right.
And then a max no matter what you have.
No matter how many acres you have, you can't go over this
Right,
size.
right.
And if you change it to a gross floor area number, it would be different than the habitable space number that we've been using, because that's only conditioned finished space.
Yeah,
So this would include unconditioned space.
yeah.
So it would include like an entire garage, and if it's 2 stories and unfinished, that number would be included, which right now it wouldn't be included. So, you know, it'll account for everything.
Have you seen other townships that are using all of these variables? You know, the pyramid, the
Southampton
gross?
and South
Yeah,
Pole use
okay.
combos.
Stephen gave us a lot of
Yeah.
examples.
Good. All right.
They will,
Because it seems complicated for
Yeah.
the applicant. I just was,
Yeah.
it's already in practice and somebody's already finding that it's working. That's different.
Yeah.
Does it
So-
cover properties less than an acre?
Well, yes, so then we were also
Because
looking
that-
at like a small lot ordinance,
Yeah.
and because with some of these, if you combine, you know, pyramid law with something else, then you eliminate a building footprint. So, you know, there might be different regulations for a small lot.
Obviously, it does, you know, the big mega houses get a lot of attention, but in a place like Silver Beach or down Montclair community where they're not on big pieces of property, these smaller lots, you know, whether it's 2/3 of an acre, half acre, 1/3 of an acre, 1/4 of an acre, and you're still, you know, putting up $4,000 or5,000 square foot homes on a smaller parcel, it calls more attention than it does than going down to, you know, bootleggers where you see a house going up for, you know, 11,000 square foot, a 6 acre piece of property. So in in communities like that, the biggest pushback we're seeing, you know, is from a lot of them is directed at these very small lots. Where in the old days, people put a nice little cottage up there and it looked beautiful on that small little piece of property, but that's not the case anymore. So I think we have to pay a lot of attention to that as well. My second comment is, or question is, you know, with the change of town boards coming in, is this something that you would estimate is going to run into 2024? That realistically, that?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's no urgency to go get this done. You want to get it done right. So if you ask for 3 months and you get December, January, February, that does afford the incoming town board an opportunity to really take ownership of it as well and be able to be comfortable, because they're gonna have to live with it and sell it. So that was my concern. Okay.
The only urgency would be
If the planning commission
Correct.
doesn't want to grant us an extension.
I was in and out from Riverhead and Green. We're asking for their extension, so is it likely that they were gonna get their 3-month extensions?
I think Riverhead did that day.
Yeah. I think
Was
they
it an
did.
extension? Yeah. Or that might have been the initial, but the discussion did highlight the fact that the planning board considers these moratoriums to be an imposition, and they should be limited to the absolute necessity. So maybe I should restate that it wasn't, I think it was for the industrial area, and it was a new moratorium. Greenport did get their extension, and they just ended their moratorium and now are passing the new zoning
Right.
regulations. So, but always they want to limit
They
it.
want it to be a short-lived thing.
Yeah, but regardless of whether it gets extended or not, the work has to continue.
Yes.
You know, so even if you're not granted the 3-month, you know, extension, work still has to be done. You don't just drop it because you didn't, you know, I mean, this is a topic that the average citizen, you know, sitting out here on Shelter Island really wants to see addressed.
The Suffolk County Planning Committee is not binding. It's just a recommendation.
Right, but you like to
Stephen?
have it.
Stephen's got
Yeah,
his.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to chime in real quick. The Suffolk County Planning Commission in this regard is merely advisory, because with the supermajority, we can extend the moratorium regardless. So it's just asking them to review it and see what their recommendations are, if any. But again, we're not beholden to whatever they say.
And Jim, I would say, just like the comprehensive plan, you know, it's not gonna get done in our term, but we should keep, you know, we started it, we should.
Sure, oh, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the work continues.
Right.
It's a work in progress, yes. We're fully, you
All right.
know, we're going to
Thanks,
December
Nate.
31st.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's it on the moratorium. We will keep you apprised of. And we'll go around the table with board members. BJ, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm just looking to see what I did.
WQI, because we had
Right. Yeah, so WQI, they approved. I have it written down right here. Yeah.
We're passing along,
Sorry.
I know.
One thing I noticed with the resolutions we did last week, WQI,
Yeah.
we've changed it to up to a certain amount.
Yes.
Normally, we usually do this, $6,000 or $8,000, up to, depending on if they need the,
There's more variability, I think, in the cost now.
Yeah.
And we also want to be clear what money has not been committed.
right.
And so, I'm really sorry that I'm not prepared.
And the
I
language,
apologize.
yeah, the language
How about-
always should have been up to.
Yeah,
We go out of order and give you a chance to.
that'd be great. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.
I'm always ready to go.
Go ahead, Jim.
All
On the
right.
microphone, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
All right.
So Veterans Day is Saturday, 11th month of the 11th day of the 11th hour, and we don't go at 10 o'clock anymore. We go at 11 o'clock in the morning, so it's a short service, usually about 20 minutes. The highlight of it for me is always the students going out there with the commander and raising the flag up, and it's always, watching them unfold and unfold the flag with the kids is always the highlight of that day. We are going into the school on Thursday, tomorrow, actually, a group of 6 of us. We're hosting kind of an assembly type of thing. We're doing grades 9 and 10 first thing in the morning, and then we're doing grades 11 and 12. Actually sitting down with them about a 45-minute period, talking a little bit about flag etiquette and the importance of, service, and a little bit about your military background, and addressing any of the questions they have. I'm sure in the world that we live in today, with all the stuff that they see on the news, they have a lot of questions about, whether we should or we shouldn't. And, we'll try to, address them and keep it in a very positive vein. I'm very concerned about the overall health of what we're giving these kids, in the world that we live in. It can be depressing. It can be depressing for adults, no less kids. So that's Veterans Day. PEP meeting we had this morning, that was my last meeting after 2 years of serving as the chairman of local government. We talked about 3 topics really this morning. Last week I gave you the presentation on shoreline adaptation, so we talked about that across the board. We talked about open space plan update, land acquisitions, and we were talking more about larger parcels. The Pine Barrens being probably one of the biggest things on Long Island ever to be set aside, the Pine Barrens, and the thousands and thousands of acres that have been set aside. They're looking to look for these large parcels again. They're also looking to preserve more farmland. So, what does this have to do with PEP? Well, PEP, it's not right on the water, but it all feeds into the water. So PEP is involved with more than just the immediate body of the Peconic Estuary. It covers the entire east end, and all the tributaries and all the water that flows into it. And the other thing is Plum Island, the future of Plum Island, trying to preserve Plum Island. And, and that's the town of Southold is working on that particular issue as well. I did also, and the other one was the top 2 environmental priorities for each one of the 5 East End towns. And of course, water finished number 1 pretty much with everybody. And we talked a little, and some of the towns talked about IA systems, and I talked about community housing a little bit. We talked about water testing here on the island and how we're going to use that. By the way, some of the results of that, have come back. I'm saving that for next week because Joe is still getting through that data. Not all of the data is back from the 167 homes, but 95% of it is back. And so I'll save my comments for next week on that. The last thing I talked to was with Peter Ganley, with the, a little bit, Peter Ganley, Nick Lolota's office, about some of the good news that we heard last week, but it's really contingent on the House passing the appropriations bill. And obviously, not only the House passing the appropriations bill, but also the federal government getting a budget together. The budget is due again, so we have to resolve the budget issue first. And the House has to get their act in order. And then rather than use it or lose it, my major concern right now, and I wanted Nick Peter to investigate this with Nick, is do we have any flexibility in the monies? Can monies be transferred to other worthwhile projects, water projects or anything else? I don't want to see this go by the wayside. A lot of the East End towns got around the same amount of money that we did. So it wasn't just Shelter Island. But surely it's something that we're going to be on top of because that's a lot of money to support some good environmental cause, obviously. I'm going to save my capital planning grants.
Hey, Jim, before you
Yes.
move on to the next, in the PEP, Newsday this week had a thing on algae blooms in Long Island. And, they use Dr. Goldbler as the expert.
Yep.
And he's basing it all on nitrates. But there was a couple of, opposing views that it's not all nitrates based on septic, because the one guy used Western Suffolk as an example, where it's all sewer systems, and there is no, sewer nitrates going in. And there was somebody else quoted from the East End, I don't remember, but questioned it too. Does the PEP, get involved in those discussions? And
You're a partner with Dr.
Yeah, they are. Right. He works with PEP. Obviously, the partnership is extensive. They work with all those organizations. I think in terms of algae blooms, water temperature has a lot to do with it, but so there are many, many other factors that go into it. I just noticed as the cold temperatures set in, the algae blooms seem to start to disappear a little bit. So, when Don and I walk into Westmoreland, take pictures of wood ducks, everybody said, boy, it looked like pea soup about a month ago when I sent the pictures of the wood ducks. It was solid algae. Went in there the other day, it was almost crystal clear. You could see the bottom. So a lot of it is on other factors that enter into it other than just nitrogen. Water temperature being one of them, but low oxygen levels and high CO2 levels and all the other things that, factor into that. So.
Runoff also accounts for.
Yeah, and runoff. Yeah, and we can do.
After
and
any rain event, you always have a higher
that's something-
nitrogen loading because of.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think on the island, that's something we could work on. In the new administration, I think water runoff is something that I'm particularly concerned about. What could we do better at the base of Goat Hill in terms of water runoff? Keeping it out of Ice Pond, Chase Creek, and actually feeding the wells that we need. So rather than have that water run off and taint, that water, if we were somehow able to retain it or capture it, coming down the hill, we obviously we'd kill two birds with one stone right there. So I think that's a real plus. And the last thing I have is on the, just do with it here, is the WMAC meeting that we had this week. It was run by our temporary chairperson, the fill-in, Bill Garrity kind of ran that meeting. And of course, no sooner did we get into that, we started talking about who was going to be the next chairman. John has come back. And by the way, I just want to take my hat off to John Needham again. But we're going to take John out afterwards. He's so appreciative of what the town board did for him. He really does appreciate the opportunity he had to lead for several decades, that organization. And the good news is staying around and giving some good guidance, so which is a real help. But we do have a vacancy there. I know we have a couple of applicants that are looking to come in. We need to sit down and schedule interviews. Perhaps one of the people we've already have interviewed previously, so I think we have that interview already done. The other person we would need to interview, we need to probably post it, see if anybody else is interested in filling that position. In terms of the chair position, went back and forth. We went from nobody wanting it to now, to be the chair and the vice chair, as they call it. So there was a little split between, and I won't go into the names and the personalities or anything else like that, just saying that, that they asked BJ and I to weigh in on it. We said we would not do that. We saw it coming, and we would come back to the town board, lay it on your lap, and by the way, we have two ways of going here. The current town board can sit down here and discuss that and, think about the pros and cons of who we would like leading the WMAC, or we can leave it to the incoming, town board to work on that. So, it's only one more meeting in December. So we've lived it with for 2 months. We could live with it for another month. But BJ and I are all ears about that. We have no, skin in the game, so to speak. So, whatever.
Well, the other thing is all four of them are great.
Yeah.
I mean, good
Yeah, they are. They're good candidates.
They're knowledgeable.
It is. It's,
So I might just, kick
Yep.
that can down the road.
yeah, okay.
Lonely at the top time.
Yeah. The second thing we did is I briefed them again on the coastal resilience net and the nature-based solution that I briefed it on last. We had a briefing from Bo Payne. Bo asked if there was any feedback from the council concerning last season's marine calls, particularly the volume of calls, top violations, MSD inspections, et cetera. So he's asking the committee, which is great. Bo stays for the first half of the meeting, makes a nice report. But I love the fact that the Bay Constables are very interested in getting feedback from the committee on things that specific data that they would like Bo to address. The second thing we talked about is the floats off of Shell Beach. Down at Shell Beach, you notice those floats have been moving further and further. They need to be relocated back to the more original spots.
What are those for, Jim? Sorry to.
To be honest with you, I don't know whether they're just being stored for over the winter or whether he's got shellfish below it or he's using it for tie-up, that we used last year. But we need to make sure that they're located in an area that is out of the navigational channels, is safe and not causing any harm, and needs to be closer to where
Are they from the creek? Are they residents?
No. I think we know who they are, but
Somebody brings them over?
no, I think it's,
We think it's a local fisherman,
yeah.
a shellfish.
Yes, a local shellfish, yes, yeah.
Sounds like, what are those doing there?
There was a partially submerged navigational hazard inside the creek, speaking about that has been removed. Buoys are going to be removed in the next couple of weeks. Watercraft need to be removed prior to December 1st. That's an important thing to get out there to the public. All your kayaks and canoes and everything else that are down on all of the town landings need to be removed. Good news is Bo makes a visit in the middle of November. All the boats and stuff, he takes the numbers down, they call. And then we're not looking to issue violations. We're looking to get them off the town landings for obvious reasons, which, we've gone through in the past. So hopefully last year, I think he said we had to take out 7 or 8 of them. And when you think about the hundreds of these things that we have at town landings, the fact that 95% of the 96% of the people remove their watercraft is great. And then we impound them and they pay a fine when they have to come pick them up. Fairly good discussion on the lifting from the DEC ban on shellfishing of the 2 or 3 areas. And that's been, as Bo said, permanently, they are permanently resolved. The one area is around the Cockles Harbor Marina, I think was the 3rd area that Bo said he will work on and make it a priority to. And John was concerned about that. John had written a letter and correspondence about that, so we'll take care of that. John also wrote a letter about the dock near Sapon's Dock, that area along the North Ferry. We might be seeing more applications coming down. In fact, we're starting to see, we're starting to see some applications for areas that are not necessarily good areas for docks. So that's one of the reasons why they are working on this. They would like to, it works into their comments about trying to get a moratorium on accepting docks applications. The only applications we would accept is in place in kind, or if they're becoming less restrictive. You want to take a 125-foot dock and rebuild it back to 75 feet, we might hear that. But we want to get away from granting any more new docks, especially in these areas, until we have a chance to visit the town code. And
Jim, may I say that
Yeah.
this was discussed, I think in August at the WMAC meeting?
Yes.
A possibility of suggesting a moratorium to the town board. And then they pulled back on that and said, okay, no, we don't really need to go to that extent. Maybe we'll just limit any dock construction until they can rewrite the dock code to those that are within, that fit, that don't require a variance, that meet the setbacks, that meet the 100-foot, all of that. And then we approved a dock that did meet all the code requirements in an area that the WMAC had recommended we say no to.
Right.
And so this is why the moratorium question is coming up again. I think, it was mentioned that at the meeting that a moratorium might not, this is the slow time of year. So we don't get a lot of applications and all of that. And the upshot is, right, that temporary Chairman Garrity may write a letter to the town board. But I said, you need to if this is where you're.
To justify it.
To formalize your request.
Formalize your request.
And that there's not much time left for this town board to act on such things. So it's, I believe, still in their court. I think that was.
CJ made some good points, and I think the other thing that we're talking about is trying to become more objective and less subjective.
Yeah.
With a rubric.
Criteria.
Specific criteria, which, we're not talking necessarily about aesthetics. Aesthetics are nice, and they do have their place, but damage to neighbor's shoreline and parting.
Safety.
Yeah, safety and all that other kind of stuff needs to be addressed. So anticipate that will be coming. And they also wanted to obviously work side by side with the new comprehensive plan update in terms of getting these things done in concert with what you guys are doing. And in terms of old business, we passed 6-0 the dock application for the Carroll at 58 Duck Hill Drive. And the other one was the Bliss Mooring application located in Monanta Creek, also passed by a vote of 6-0. And other business, we approved the new dates for the council. We are meeting, just as a change, everybody knows, we're moving to 5 o'clock rather than 6 o'clock on Monday nights, the second Monday of each month. And that will be done for December, January, February, and March. Once April comes, we'll revert back to the 6 o'clock time. And the committee agreed with that. So any new revisions for Chapter 53, Matt and Bill will continue their work, redrafting of those revisions. And the last comment I have is on Jack's marine moorings, the total of, I think, BJ, 47 moorings that are there. New owners want to keep these moorings, but will not service any of the other moorings. They're just going to pay attention to the ones that they own right down there. The other thing that BJ mentioned that stuck out in my mind, I skipped over it with the docks thing, is, and hopefully I quote you correctly, is that what's the potential for new docks on the island? And somebody said, BJ, I think he turned around and said, well, what do you think? And somebody said, I don't know, 75, 100? 400. 400. So we think we're docked out. There are 400 people who live on the water that could possibly put docks in here. So this problem is not going
Well,
away.
and as John Needham liked to point out, the easy ones are all done.
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, that's exact. And you're 100% correct. The easy ones are done, the more difficult ones are that have to be tackled. And that's why we are where we are when it comes to docks.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea that he comes in BJ suggested we come in next Tuesday, hear, his justification for this moratorium. We would act on that accordingly and, give them an opportunity during the slower months where we don't get a lot of applications to develop this criteria, bring it back to the new town board for their consideration and see what happens. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
The chair part, while you were talking, I brought up the boards and committees rules and procedures.
Yes.
And for board and committee chairs, the selection, when the position of board or committee chair is created or vacated, the board and committee shall submit to the town board its recommendation to fill the position, or if no consensus can be reached, defer it to the town board. So are they deferring it to the town board, or we're giving them?
I think they're going to talk about it a little bit more. That was my.
Yeah, you're getting emails almost
Yeah.
every day on this. I got phone calls in between, and I had this third meeting of the day, and I didn't have a chance to return that phone call again, people seem to be jockeying around,
I just wanted to know, since this is our procedure and rules, I just wanted to which point are we at, so.
Right, and Bo did mention in the meeting that it is up to the town board, I mean, because they were, but I think the courtesy is come up, tell us what we're considering.
They make the recommendation
Yes.
to the appointment,
Right.
but I just wanted to see where we were. Exactly.
So I think we need to advertise for that seventh position. We have two candidates.
It's already on the town website.
Okay, all right, and we're ready to go. Okay, thank you. Okay. BJ, you ready?
WQI,
Go ahead.
right? No, yeah, hold on. Oh, I was just going to bring it up, thanks. Yeah, that's.
No, that was from the prior meeting. Go.
No, but I have the
Agenda.
current ones here. Hold on, I brought up the current minutes, so let me just talk about
While
those.
you're looking, I'll bring up the.
Here it is, November 2nd. So there was a 5 Heritage Drive was considered an application, but the WQI member who's reviewing that application wasn't available on the meeting Thursday, so that's sort of been pushed off to the next meeting. There's some questions about some proposed renovations. Do they include growth? Do they not? That's a tricky thing. At some point, I bet the WQI seeks clarification from the town board. They approved their meeting schedule for 2024. The water test was briefly discussed, the here in the triangle that we've done. And James Eklund had spoke to Mr. Nissen, Craig Nissen.
But that's not an official.
No, I'm just saying that, okay, and hopes to have, it would, just that it was already a publicly discussed topic, that maybe we needed to know.
The reason I'm just clamping down on it is because it was just sort of a conversation, I think, in passing, and so it's not official results, and it hasn't been properly analyzed, and so Joe will be the one who will present that to us.
Right. And then I think you should do what's next, which is review the updated financial report, which is
Yes.
what you presented that night.
The topic under consideration for us is Wade's Beach. We had approved $20,860 years ago to upgrade the septic that's there to an IA system. That has never moved forward.
Right.
So
Wondering about that. Yes.
So we should do a resolution to unencumber those funds and put them back in, to make them available for other uses.
It's based on parking, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, the size of the system would have to be,
The requirement from the health department.
yeah, it's based on parking, so that would be,
Yeah, with
huge.
90 parking spaces, the volume,
Yeah. So,
by design is ridiculous. And if they were going to try and put an IA system, the dollar amount that they would need would be much higher, so they should just come back. The Commissioner of Public Works should come back if that's what he decides to move forward.
So we encumbered that money?
We encumbered it, so we just need to unencumber it, so we should have a resolution.
Okay.
And I can give you the date on that after the meeting, Amber, just so you can reference the original resolution.
By the way, with our PEP funds, I spoke to Ms. Mundy in there, and she's gonna research that. And what I asked her for the new town board is, could you put the rest of the contract out of what we'd be spending each year, so that we know that. But we haven't paid our bill for PEP for this year, so.
Oh, I spoke to Shelby about that.
Oh.
I think we have to do that by resolution, because anytime we spend
yes.
QI money, because it's under the CPF umbrella, and it's not the regular residential IAs that we have a different process for. So she's going to give Amber the information so that we can do the public hearing and then do the resolution.
While we're at that, one of the requests that the WMAC mentioned, that could we look at the last 2 or 3 years of the fund on what we've spent that money on?
I think Bo reached out.
It's surely within,
Bill's already asked Shelby?
Yeah.
Bill's already asked Shelby.
okay, so it's surely within our purview to do that, but just to say that we're following through on the request, we're happy to do that.
If you go back to 2018, that's when we originally encumbered this.
Okay.
Yep. And then, I was at the WQI meeting, and then just been participating in interviews for senior nutrition program, so. I have recommendations for hires, I'll let you guys know.
And we're interviewing for senior cook and site manager?
Yes.
We had an ETIP meeting last week, which is that federal grant we received. So we're working with the Island Institute and NREL, and we have been discussing what kind of resources we already have at our disposal. So studies that have been done, so looking at the 2023 LIPA Integrated Resource Plan, the study on available tidal power that LIPA's done.
Just the one when they came here?
No, they're gonna come out next week, so, we've gone through some of the utility section, chapter 10 of the comprehensive plan. looking at energy on a regional level and how it impacts us. CCA, the Community Choice Aggregation that Southampton's working on, just different concepts that are being used around us. And then there's a whole bunch of questions that we're looking to answer. So, what do we have available to us? Like, what resources do we have internally and externally as far as, who could we ask questions of? So we have the Green Options Committee, that's kind of the hub, and then they have their town board liaison. We can work with the town engineer. The chief has some connections with the energy company, things like that. Working with Highway too on some of these concepts. And then looking into some of our stakeholders, and then what are our key outcomes, or what are we trying to achieve? And it's, energy efficiency for all the town buildings, and looking into things that, we can feasibly do, like solar in the recycling center and things of that nature. So the group from the Island Institute is actually going to come out and do a site visit on Wednesday the 15th. They're going to be out on Shelter Island. And they're going to be there for the whole day, and then a little bit on Thursday morning to come and see the island, so that they have a good idea of exactly what we're talking about, to look at all of our facilities and buildings, to look at, the ferries, the fire departments, the recycling center, and just the island in general, just to see how we work, how we function. And so anybody who wants to meet with them and join us on that drive around the island is more than welcome to. So they'll be out all day Wednesday the 15th. And then
And then again, this is for studies of what we can do, not for financial solutions.
correct, it's all information gathering.
Right.
So the grant doesn't give us money, it gives us access to information and experts in the field. So what we're doing is kind of a complete evaluation of all of our municipal buildings and how we draw our power, and trying to determine what the best way is to become a more resilient island community. So, should we ever get unplugged, what are all of our backups? What is our ability to maintain our independence and our power sources? What does that look like? Should there be a monster storm that takes out the whole East End?
Right.
How will we fare? And the whole goal of this program is to make islands more resilient, and to do it in a way that is not overly impactful on the environment. So.
I think one of the asks, I got an email, I think it was yesterday, about paying for the bus driver. So
Yeah, that one.
I think that can come out of the green options. They have $500 that's
Okay.
not grant money, so I don't think we used any or
Yeah.
little of it, so.
Okay, I'll let
We
you
use
know.
a town bus?
Yeah, this new bus, because rather than them doing it in separate cars, they have everything in one
yeah.
vehicle, so the
Yeah,
conversation.
Don D'Amato came up with that.
Do we have somebody to drive?
I have to ask Don if he's
Okay.
been able to find somebody.
Yeah.
But that just came up the other day.
Yeah, just seniors. They would have the drivers.
Yeah, so next week is going to be a fun
That's Wednesday.
island-wide tour. That's Wednesday. Yeah.
Anything else?
CPAC is going to have their next meeting on Thursday, the 16th at 6:30, just to continue going through all the comments we've received for chapter 4 and 5.
I'm sorry, what thing?
The 16th, Thursday,
6:30.
at 6:30. And then possibly the 17th, I'm not sure, I'm waiting for confirmation that someone can attend. And then after that, the next meeting won't be until the 27th.
And you did have your county planning commission.
Oh, yeah, we did. So we went to the County Planning Commission just to give them an intro that, hey, this is what we're working on, this is what we're doing. We weren't asking for approval or anything like that. We just wanted some initial feedback, making sure we touch base on all the things that they would look for. And somehow with the submission, the link that they received didn't have chapter 11 attached, so that was frustrating. And so now they're gonna look at chapter 11, and then we'll be on the agenda again for December, so they can give us notes on chapter 11 and see if there's anything additionally that we should be doing while we do this revision. So that was really the whole intention of going, and not really intended to be a more formal review. It was supposed to be just like a desk review.
Yeah.
But, you know, people misinterpreted it and complained, and so they put it on the agenda and did it that way. So, yeah, that's where we're at.
Okay. Stephen, you have anything? I'm gonna take that as a no. Joe Fenora, you have anything for us?
Nope.
Okay, Amber? No, we got a bunch of.
And
the
that was
bank-
no for me, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, okay. I know we got a bunch of the banking stuff,
Yeah.
finally straightened out.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Anybody in the audience? The immediate audience? Anybody in the Zoom audience? Okay, if there's no comments, I'll make a motion that we go into a special meeting for a public hearing on the 2024 budget and for a resolution to accept the check from the Ambulance Foundation. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Deborah, anything to read on the budget of,
No, it's the public hearing.
just the public hearing?
No.
All right, so the public hearing is on the 2024 budget. We'll take any comments. If anybody has any comments on the budget. And we will discuss those comments, or we will discuss any further discussions at the next week's town board meeting.
Work session. Yeah, the
That work session, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay, any comments from the audience? Any comments from the Zoom audience? Okay, if there's no comments on the 2024 budget, I'm going to close that hearing. And we will do a resolution. Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to credit the donation funds received from the Shelter Island Ambulance Foundation in the amount of $75,000 for the Ambulance Equipment Capital Reserve Fund for the year 2023. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. And thank you very, very much
Yes.
for all those people that are so generous to support that.
As again, just on that note, a couple of years ago, we talked about other municipalities charge a rate on an ambulance call because insurance companies do cover it. So we talked to the foundation about it, and they felt, if we did that, even if just for the people that were covered, it would affect their ability to, collect donations. The people, it would hurt more than it would help. So we decided not to go that route. Again, people are very generous.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Couldn't do what we do without
That's right.
that, without that generosity.
And there'd be administrative burden as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there'd
Yeah.
be cost
Right.
associated.
Okay, so if that's all we have and there's no more comments from the public, I would congratulate the two people in the audience on their win. And I
Second
will
that.
say,
Congratulations.
make a motion, we go into executive session to continue our contract negotiations. All those in favor?
Aye.